Welcome to Why We're Fans. I'm Duran, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Gennaro.
In all of our episodes, we cover the past, present, and the future of all your favorite NFL football teams.
We love hearing your stories, talking the NFL draft, and reminiscing about the good old days.
If you like the same, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this episode. And leave a comment below if you want to answer any of our questions.
Follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on our latest interviews. And like we always say, win or lose, we're all fans. Enjoy this episode.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Why We're Fans. It's your host, as always, Gennaro Munez. And to my left or right, that's Duran Munez right there. What's going on, Duran?
How's it going, man? We just passed Thanksgiving, which means the season's actually starting now. So if you're still in it, congratulations. If not, you might be fighting for that number one pick. You're going to have to rip it away from our guests, though.
Yeah, I understand you just got back from Texas. You enjoyed that whole penalty-filled football game right there. We'll ask about it later on if you like. But, yeah, man, it's got to be a tough one, though.
Thanksgiving. Both of our teams played Thanksgiving, too. So,
both of it. Yeah.
It's tradition. They try to take the Thanksgiving game out of Detroit. There's like a big drive for it nationwide. Yeah. Let me just say that's never going to happen, okay? This thing has been there for 100 years.
Yeah.
We're not the Indians. We're not going to change our name to the Guardians. Thanksgiving is staying in Detroit.
I love it. Introduce him. I got a question for him.
Okay. All right. We got our guest. We got Julius Porter here. He's just a small town boy, born and raised in South Detroit.
I think it goes something like that.
Julius, what's going on, man? Go ahead and plug any type of work you're working on. Hype yourself up, shout yourself out, man.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys allowing me to come on the show. My name is Julius. You can find me on Twitter at the Fifth Top. I'm co-host of the Honolulu Blues podcast. Weekly show. I'm also a co-host of Against the Standard podcast. I do 2 a week. And so, I stay pretty active in the sports community as a whole. I'm a fan of all the Detroit teams. I'm born and raised in Detroit, and Lions, Tigers, Pistons, Wings, University of Michigan. Those are my big five.
Congrats
I follow
on a big
them
win,
pretty
man.
closely. I follow them closely. And I just give my opinion on it sometimes on Twitter and whatnot. And, I just have a good time. I really appreciate you guys having me on today, though.
No problem. And we'll list all your links below. So if you're interested in any of the teams or coverage that Julius is doing, go ahead and follow the link.
Hell yeah, for sure, man. Hey, a couple things. One, big shout out to Jim Harbaugh and the boys. That was a big win. I watched it with my brother-in-law, who is a Buckeyes fan, so it was always fun to see him, coming off of his high from the.
I'm still riding up there about it, bro. That's the best. That's my best Michigan moment of my life.
Now you guys are number 2 in the nation, so congrats on that as well. And the Detroit Tigers, you guys just got Javi Baez, man. Congrats on that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a lot of rumblings about that because we wanted Correa really bad. Well, a lot of Tigers fans did, but I take Baez. I think he's a great player. So yeah, I'm excited about the Tigers too.
Hell yeah, man. Duran, you said you had a question for him, man?
Yeah, I have a quick question for you. Both of our teams play every Thanksgiving. I know you gave your little statement about it, but do you feel like it's a blessing or a curse to play on Thanksgiving? The reason I ask is because just this past week, Dallas versus the Raiders, it was the most watched game since 1990, regular season game. And it seems like after Thanksgiving is when I get the text from people that aren't even football fans. They're just sitting at the house watching it with their family. So that they take that, as a step to kind of talk some shit to me. And of course, Dallas loses this year. So that made it even worse.
Man, listen, the Dallas and Detroit, it's a blessing. It's more of a blessing than a curse because it's a tradition. Like Detroit, we've been doing this since 1936, I believe. I mean, it goes back generations, and it's not just a national audience, it's an international audience. The whole world be watching those Thanksgiving games. And they watch the Cowboys, they watch the Lions. Now for the Lions, it's a little different because we're known as such a losing team that the audience abroad, thinks very lowly of us. Of course, the Cowboys a little bit different, America's team, big time. So like I said, people talk about like, oh, the Lions don't deserve the game or whatnot. That just I don't agree with that. If it was any other team, that's been around for that long, as long as the Lions have and had the Thanksgiving tradition, Dallas, early 60s, when you guys were first created, y'all started Thanksgiving. Keep it there. I like tradition. That's one of the things I like about college football so much is the tradition, the pageantry of it all. The NFL has some of those things too. So don't take it away.
Yeah, and I think the reason Dallas and the Lions both play on Thanksgiving is because there was a point where no one wanted to play on Thanksgiving, and these are the two teams that volunteered to play every Thanksgiving, and now you have it.
I think you're right about that. The owners of the teams volunteered the Lions and the Cowboys for those games every year. You do it out there a few years, it sticks.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll play each other one year so they can knock it out.
I always think that. Lions, Cowboys on Thanksgiving, one time.
Yeah, I'm for it. Schedule makers make it happen.
See, man. Let's see here. Anything else before we get started, y'all?
I'm ready to dive in, man.
All right, man. Well, let's do a quick cheers.
All
right, man. With that. Oh, there you go. We got Fog Belt.
Fog Belt, Screaming Giant.
Screaming Giant?
Yeah, Screaming Giant. I'm sipping on some Iron Ox. See if I got the can here.
So you guys got the nice stuff. Is that local around you?
Yeah, both of them.
Both of them are local.
I gotta look into it, man. Getting exotic out here. Exotic Cali Lakers out here.
There you go.
we probably gotta send you some shoot us your address, man. We'll shoot you some.
Bet. I'm gonna hold you to it.
All right, man. So first things first, man. How did it all start? How did you start becoming part of the pride of Motown?
Well, like I said, I became a sports fan, I guess you could say, like most people in their teenage years. I played sports in high school. I was an athlete, and then I was a fan of the Pistons. They were winning when I was a teenager. That was like the going to work Pistons, the Wallaces and Chauncey Billups and those guys. The Tigers were like AL Central champs like 5 of the 6 years. I was in high school, middle school, went to a couple World Series. And, Michigan is Michigan. Everybody loves me. In the state of Michigan, you pick either Michigan or Michigan State at a pretty young age. And I picked Michigan. So I've been with them. And then the Wings were one of the most winningest franchises in the history of sports for a while. I really love the Wings, the way they play hockey. And then you had the Lions. And what's funny about the Lions? When I was a teenager, they became my favorite Detroit team, even though they were the worst. I know that's kind of psycho weird, but it's something about the Lions that kind of represents the city more than the other teams, even though they win more. But that's going too deep into Detroit fandom. But anyways, I began following them as a teenager, and then, I kept going with them. I eventually started writing blogs. I wrote for a few websites, a couple SB Nation, a couple things here and there. I did some columns. And then I just jumped into podcasting in the last few years. It's really just a hobby of mine, a joy, something I do on the side, keeps life exciting, going through everything else. I'm raising a family, I was in the military for 8 years. I'm a veteran now, but, I've been through a lot, traveled a lot of places, but I've always kept that sports fandom with me. So that's pretty much where I am today.
Yeah. Love it. Being that you were traveling around the world, as you said, being in the military, thanks for all that, by the way. I'm curious, how is it as far as like when you go to places around the world, like is there more fans of like a certain football team, or do you meet like a lot of, I mean, Cowboys fans, America's team, or
Oh
Niner
yeah,
fans, whatnot?
that's a great question actually. And yeah, in the military, I met people from everywhere, especially in America. Soldiers come from every state, every city, and Cowboy fans outnumber them all. This is the honest facts. Okay. Cowboy fans and abroad too. Even I was stationed in Europe for quite some time. Even in Germany and England, Cowboys. They know the Cowboys, and then they know Brady and the Patriots, But even you're a Niners fan. I see the shirt, man. A lot of Niners fans. There's a lot of Niners fans in America and abroad. I would say it's a top 5 fan base just by sheer number. But Dallas was number 1, definitely.
Yeah, everywhere I go, I'm in California. I'm a Cowboys fan. I meet Cowboys fans all the time. When I travel around, I still meet Cowboys fans. When I go to Texas, I meet guys.
The Cowboys are like the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of like the only NFL team that's kind of comparable is maybe the Packers. I've met Packer fans that were from every state, and I'm like, what the hell?
That's so funny.
It's kind of like that with Cowboy fans. Like, I go to Washington State or I go to, Ohio, anywhere. I'm a Cowboy fan. Have you ever been in Texas? No.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you're traveling around, we know you're a big sports fan. How did you keep up with watching the game, listening to the game? Did you ever watch it on like Yahoo when it was just the ball bouncing and you get to see it with 2nd and 3 now? And
man, I watched it like that so many times.
Yep.
Like in Afghanistan and in Iraq, I would be on the game cast on ESPN, just tracking it play by play like a slow idiot. Nowadays, you don't have to worry about that, but yeah, man, I kept up with it. I would read articles. I'm a big reader.
Yeah.
So, I enjoy, good analytic or opinionated article, and so I read a lot and I just kept up with it all to this day, pretty much.
Yep. I agree.
You got any favorite writers?
Not particularly nowadays. I'm like my favorite writer at this point.
Follow the link below. We got you.
Yeah, but like when I was a young kid, I liked Jamil Hill.
Mm-hmm.
I liked quite a few. I mean, right now my favorite, what I read constantly is The Athletic. I don't know if you guys are aware of The Athletic. They have a lot of different personalities and the way they write, and the app itself is just I think brilliant. And so I read a lot of The Athletic nowadays.
Yeah, shout out Dan Brugler's on there.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Ted Wynn, both of those guys break down film better than almost anybody. They're at the top of their game, so I'm always checking that out and having to see what they have to say.
Yeah, the comment list, even the comment list on the Athletic app is engaging.
Yep.
Unlike most people comment lists, you just stay out, but The Athletic is just,
it's
like
the member
somehow.
It's the membership. It kind of weeds out the assholes.
I think you're right.
And you'll even see Dan Brugler will be in there answering questions in the comment section and things like that. So shout out Dan Brugler. We love you. Keep it up.
Hell yeah, man. It was pretty cool when I just retweeted one of his articles he wrote about a prospect I like coming out of the draft. And like he wrote me just saying, "Oh yeah, appreciate it, thank you." I was like, "Holy shit! Like you don't need to do that. Like I'm just a fan. What the hell?" So I thought
it's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. So you said that you just started following something that drew you in about the Detroit Lions. So with that being said, was there nobody ahead of you, like mom, dad, uncles, or whatnot, that was a Detroit fan or a Lions fan? Or
not particularly. Not particularly. Like I remember seeing highlights of Barry Sanders when I was a kid and stuff, but for the most part, like when I got older, like my dad, he used to watch a lot of Tiger games. He used to watch a lot of baseball because he would just drink a couple beers. Baseball is slow, relaxing. You know, I don't think they really bothered with the Lions, and they were so bad too for so many of those years. But just as I got older, and you know, Detroit is kind of a rough place to grow up directly in, and I experienced some of that. And the Lions, like when I go to other places, you know, Detroit is kind of mocked. You know, it's like, oh wow, you're from Detroit. You know, it's kind of talked down upon in a way, in the same way the Lions are.
Mm-hmm.
And the motto of the city of Detroit is actually that we will arise from the lows of the ashes, you know, from the bottom to the top. And you know, that means something to me growing up there, and you know, with that environment and that aspiration. And the Lions are kind of the same way, just downtrodden, but just one day before you die, you hope that it arises. Yeah. And that's pretty much where you are as a Lions fan. It's a deep commitment. It's really cycle. And a lot of fans give up, you know, but for the most part, the Lions fan base is strong. I think that the losing culture is so legendary at this point that you know, you just want to see it in, like you want to just be alive to see it in. It's like a spectacle at this point.
Yeah. All the pain and all the losing that you guys go through, when that Super Bowl comes one day, because it will happen, it's going to make it all worth it.
Eventually, yeah.
You're going to buy
the Cubs. You know, how long did the Cubs wait? How long did the Red Sox wait? When those fan bases won, it was a jubilation that we don't know of, you know. Yep. And the Lions will have that kind of similar same feeling if it ever happens, if and when it ever happens.
Yeah, the Red Sox, they had the curse of Babe Ruth. You guys had the curse of Bobby Lane. The curse of was it Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson having to pay back their money.
Stafford.
Stafford.
It just hasn't ended yet. We're just waiting on it to all end. So
hopefully Motor City Dan Campbell can, do something about it.
We're hoping, man. We haven't won a game this year.
You tied.
We tied a game. We tied, but we are winless.
Is that almost worse, the tie?
I don't like ties. I don't. I wish the NFL would just do like college and just go to 10 overtimes until somebody win, because I don't like ties. They're a waste of time. They're a waste of space. I'd rather take the loss almost. At least it's something to dwell on.
that college overtime, if it was in the NFL, it'd be the most watched TV exciting moment 100%. Ever. It would, if it came down to overtime and it became a shootout like that.
Just put them at the 20-yard line each drive.
Exactly.
Case in point with the Iron Bowl, man. I mean, Alabama and Auburn, man, they went at it 4 overtimes, I think it was. Yep. I was watching that, man. I've seen Michi finally get the winning touchdown. I was like, all right, that's cool.
I do think NFL needs to move it back a little bit, maybe 30-yard line.
Hell yeah!
Because those kickers are pretty automatic from there. Cool. Give them a little bit of pressure.
I mean, how long are the overtime periods? 5 minutes, correct?
Yeah.
5?
Yeah.
And they score the kickoff, right? So
that's a drive each almost for what they're giving them in overtime. It's so easy to tie. Just some teams get lucky and score on that first. Like a lot of teams score on that first drive and then either hold them the next one or whatever.
Yeah.
But ties, it's just
they're the worst. They're the worst.
I mean, even baseball, like you were saying, is a slower sport. They don't tie. They keep on going.
Exactly. And
slow,
if you'll have a 10-hour baseball game before it's a tie.
Yeah.
Sure, man. So growing up in the area, did you ever get a chance to see any like practices, training camp, or anything like that?
Well, I did. I lived in a few different places around the city. And when I was young, Ford Field didn't exist. Comerica Park didn't exist. There was the Pontiac Silverdome, which I had never been to. It's now demolished. And I've been to Ford Field about 10 times. I've been to about 10 games in my life. And, I really enjoy the environment when it's energetic and the Lions are winning, which is like half the time I've been there. They won 5 and lost 5. And, I grew up not too far from Joe Louis Arena and Tiger Stadium where the other teams play. And so I've been around there a lot. I'm pretty familiar with the sports scene in my city, even though I don't live in the city of Detroit no more, or the state of Michigan. I live in the state of Texas now. but I still have such a keen remembrance of it, and I do visit often. So
There you go.
Do you remember the first game you attended?
yes, and it was a Lions game.
Yeah, Lions verse. You remember?
Matter of fact, nope. Let me take that back. Out of all the teams, the first game I went to was a Tigers game because the baseball games were cheap to get into. I think my dad took me to one when I was like 8, and I just like looked around and forgot about the thing. I didn't even watch the game. But the real first game I was engaged with that I've been to was a Lions game, and it was a game. The year we went 11-5 and lost to the Cowboys in the wild card.
Oh yeah,
with the controversial flag
PI.
pickup.
Yeah, the PI.
Yeah. It was that year, and it was the game. It was a game at Ford Field against the Los Angeles Chargers. Well, at that time, the San Diego Chargers, and we beat them to clinch a playoff spot.
Yep.
And it was electric environment, and that's my first real memory of a sports event that I went to, and it was great.
That's a great game to go to. I mean, as a Lions fan,
I think it was their 10th win of the season out of those 11 wins.
They were 10-5. They ended up beating the Chargers 38-10. So just being in that environment, no offense, but the Lions haven't been in that position many times, clinching playoff. Blowing out a
as
team.
a Lions fan, that was rare, and that happened to be my first time. And I was with my dad, who he's my late father at this point, but that was one of my fond memories with him at a sporting event too. So it was awesome, and they had a great team that year. Let me just say that.
Yeah,
I think it was 2014, I believe, and they had the number 1 or number 2 defense going into the playoffs, and they had a pretty good offense with Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Reggie Bush. But damn, we lost to those Cowboys in a wild card.
I'm looking at it right now. That game, Stafford had 373 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Calvin Johnson put up 102 with the touchdown. And
what's funny about the Cowboys? I have so many fond memories of Lions Cowboy games. Like when I was in Iraq, I forgot the year, but the Lions were playing the Cowboys, and we were watching it in like this tent in the desert. Yeah. And it was about 100 soldiers and Marines packed in. And I promise you, 95 of them was Cowboy fans. Yeah. And Calvin Johnson went off for 329 yards and a couple touchdowns. It was a legendary performance, and us 5 Lions fans we're in such joy in that crowd of Cowboy fans for that game.
I remember that. And it was 329 yards he went off.
Legendary performance.
You could see every catch on YouTube, and it's 13 minutes. It's a 13-minute clip. So that shows you exactly what Calvin Johnson did that day.
We had some great players. Lions have had some legendary players, and it's just we are still known as a losing franchise. So it's crazy.
Yeah. You said that defense was mean, and I remember you guys had Sue, and I think you guys like emulated like Sue's attitude. And that's when he was getting in trouble for stomping on people, kicking people in the nuts and shit. So
listen, Detroit fans and Detroit teams like to take on that tough persona, like the bad boy Pistons, like Ndamukong Suh, we don't take no shit. We kind of street, whatever. Detroit, tough guys. So Sue, we eat that shit up. Lions fans, Detroit sports fans eat that tough street Detroit behavior up if the team embodies it and they're winning.
Yeah.
Like they have that motto, Detroit versus everyone. So
exactly. That's exactly what it is. But like I said, the team has to be winning for it to really click.
Yeah. That's very true. Do you remember your first Lions jersey?
Yes, and it was Calvin Johnson jersey because Calvin Johnson was my favorite player for his entire career. He's my favorite Lion from pretty much my preteen years when he was drafted till my early mid-adulthood, mid-20s, whenever he retired. I mean, so Calvin Johnson, I got quite a few of his jerseys as well.
That's a good
I missed the guy, man. He was so good.
Yeah.
He was so good. You could just throw him the ball in the air. It don't matter who's around him. If you have a player like that, it's just amazing to have.
He's called Megatron for a reason. He destroy defenses. I think my favorite picture of him, and it's like I think he has 2 or 3 DBs lined up to him like it's a
Oh
punt.
yeah. It looks like a meme.
Crazy.
It looks like a made up meme.
I'm pretty sure he torched them. Like it was
Yeah.
Once in a generation player that big, that fast, and it's once in a generation.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Dallas should have did that too on that game. The triple coverage.
Most definitely.
What's your game day setup looking like? Do you watch it alone? Do you watch it with a friend? Are you a live tweeter? Do you go to the bar?
Well, it's kind of a mix. I do live tweet for the most part, even though less so when your team is 0-10-1. I don't want to tweet about the Lions at this point because I do still live tweet, just not as frequently as if they were winning or at least more talented or, at the point. And, you could give a lot more emotion into the live tweeting when it's more competitive. But I watched the game on DirecTV Sunday Ticket.
Yeah. And
I've been watching it that way for years. It costs you a pretty buck per prescription, but in HD and down here in Texas, every Lions game, it's worth it. So I used to watch it more so alone, but as my son, he's gotten older, he's kind of starting to connect with the Lions the same way I am. He's starting to watch them with me and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And then even my wife will sit down and watch a game with me. She's been ignoring me watching the Lions for years, but she'll sit down and watch nowadays. So I guess you could say I'm not totally alone in that regard.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
Just wait until your son is able to talk sports with you, man. That's
yeah. He's getting there. He just turned 8, and he's into basketball, football, and so it's coming.
Have you bought him a jersey yet?
Oh yeah, he got a DeAndre Swift jersey.
Okay.
He got a Pistons Cade Cunningham jersey.
There you go.
He pretty much has every jersey that I've bought recently. I always get him a little copy of mine. So yeah.
That's a good one. Anything else, G, for how it started?
No, nothing for how it started, but on to our next question. You already answered it with Calvin Johnson. Is there one question I have about that? Is there a moment of Calvin Johnson's career where you knew, all right, that's the dude?
Early on, you could just tell.
Yeah.
Okay, he's tall and he's fast and he can jump high, and he was just so. He was kind of like LeBron was in the NBA. He came in kind of thin, he was kind of lanky when he first came in. But a few years later, LeBron beefed up and became unstoppable, and that's kind of what Calvin Johnson did. He kind of grew into his frame.
Yeah.
And in 2 years, he was going off for 1,500 yards a season. So, and it was always hopeful with Stafford too, because we got the number 1 pick from Georgia with the rocket arm. And we put some other good receivers around Calvin Johnson that made it even better passing attack, like Golden Tate, Nate Burleson, those likes. But it just never clicked in a way that gave us a consistent winning formula.
Mm-hmm. And I just saw an interview with Calvin Johnson. They asked him who his favorite receiver in the league is right now. I have to say he did say CeeDee Lamb, another guy that came in. He's a little thin. He's thin. Yeah, CeeDee Lamb. He's a little thin. He's putting on weight each year. And hey, I can only pray that he turns into the player that Calvin Johnson did.
That's tall, but CeeDee Lamb is good.
Yeah.
He's good. And he's going to get better. He's only a rookie, right? He just got drafted.
No, it's his second
year.
Second year. Oh yeah. He's already blooming. Every time I see the guy, he's making plays. And it's sick that you guys also got Gallup and Cooper with him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I knew that Calvin Johnson was going to be a dude when because I always watch the combine. I understand it's the same shit. It doesn't really mean anything really. You see some people kind of shine and, all fucking CJ2K, he, sparked up. Same with Darius Edward Bay, got his stock rising a little bit. But when he wasn't going to run the 40, and then someone says, "Here, you can use my shoes to run it," and he just goes out there and just kills the 40. Not even stretching, no warm up, no nothing, just one and done. It's all right. We'll shut these motherfuckers up. Goes out there, torches it, and just I was like, okay, this guy's a dude. Like, I was like, man, I'm excited to see where he's gonna go. And the whole time I'm like, well, Oakland's gonna take him. Oakland's gonna take him. They ended up taking Jamarcus Russell, and I remember Lane Kiffin wanted. Their stories came out where Lane Kiffin wanted Calvin Johnson, but they went with Jamarcus. That didn't go well, but Calvin Johnson, man,
you got to take Calvin Johnson. You have to, like, if there's a player like in his measurables coming out of college and his acumen, you got to draft him. He's number 1 overall draftable.
Let me just read it right now. This is something that CeeDee Lamb could never do just because he's not as physically gifted. 6'5", 230, ran a 4.35 40.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
with like a 42-inch vertical, like, and you can't stop that. So that's pretty much what Calvin Johnson was. So
and
the Oakland Raiders roasted themselves by not drafting Megatron.
I don't know if you said it. He did it with the borrowed cleats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Someone just said, here, you can borrow these real quick.
4.32 borrowed cleats.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's an alien.
Crazy.
For real. And it's so funny. I listen to the Pat McAfee show, and he always talks about aliens, and he did an interview with Calvin Johnson, and they talked about his new strain that he has, or he has a couple of dispensaries out there and whatnot.
Yeah.
And Michigan, he was just like, so what planet are you from is what he asked them. He just starts laughing. I say, hey, man, it's just hard work,
He's a great guy. Calvin Johnson, the man, is like the most humble player I've ever known of in the NFL. Literally, like, he just was totally, he had no ego at all, and he was totally mindful around people. And even after the league is over, he's maintained his residence in the Detroit area. Like you mentioned, he has a few dispensaries and businesses going on in the Detroit area, giving back to the community still. He's a great guy.
That's what makes you even question that Raiders pick even more. It's like Jamarcus Russell, one of the worst ever, personality wise, work ethic. And then you got Calvin Johnson, who's just the complete opposite. Awesome work ethic, Well,
the Lions did end up drafting Eric Ebron and passing on Aaron Donald.
I do remember that. They do like the early tight ends.
Oh gosh.
Who was the other guy? Like Brandon Pettigrew.
Yeah, we drafted Pettigrew.
Yeah.
We
drafted now the new guy.
We got TJ Hawkinson, who's decent, but we did pass on a couple good players like who's the linebacker from the Cowboys who's dominating? Parsons.
Oh yeah, Micah Parsons. Yeah.
We passed on Parsons. So
well, who is it? Denver took Jake Butt, the pick before George Kittle. So
Jake Butt's not in the league anymore.
Yeah, and I think he's only played a handful of games. He came into the league injured and left injured. So that's
Michigan legend Jake Butt. He was a good college tight end, but I
think I know your answer here, but Calvin Johnson, catch, no catch. I mean, that was one of the most absurd calls ever.
Talking about the Bears
catch? Versus the Bears. He palms the ball and he palms the ball in one hand and sets it down. You could watch that 100 times and every time you're like, that's a catch.
Full control of the ball in one hand, falling to the ground in the end zone, which is by definition is a touchdown. But, the whole finish the motion thing started coming out at that point. You got to finish the motion. Once you hit the ground, the ball can't come loose. You got to roll around with it, tighten your arms like you hugging it like a baby, or they're going to call it incomplete pass.
Dang, that happened to the Cowboys twice. I mean, catch, no catch, dead. And then with the whole Darren Waller thing, catch, no catch. I thought that was a catch.
That was a fumble.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I think so too. How do you feel about the abrupt retirement? The conflict with the Lions afterwards. I think they're trying to repair the relationship now, but some things can never be undone.
Yeah, it's some petty stuff going on with Calvin Johnson and the Lions owners and their business side of things. I guess Calvin Johnson wants a portion of money that he's owed from his contract that Lions are saying he isn't owed because he retired abruptly but didn't finish the terms, and they just got this grudge about it. And the Lions, like, it's just like $3 million, man. Like, it felt like Calvin Johnson, Megatron, Hall of Famer. He gave us everything to the Lions for the decade plus he was with us. You just give him $3 million, man, and shake his hand. Barry Sanders is at every Lions game. He's like a freaking global ambassador for the Lions. And it's great because he's like the best running back of all time. And he's like a legend. We want that with Calvin Johnson too. We want Megatron at every game and being a global ambassador, talking about the Lions. In his Hall of Fame speech, he did not mention the Lions, but he did mention the fans of Detroit and the city quite a bit, which meant a lot. I mean, he did have a connection, of course. He just got this grudge with the organization, and it's petty, and I hope it ends soon.
Yeah, one that's similar to me is the Andrew Luck. He, in good faith, they just paid him out, said, hey, you deserve it. You got beat up here.
Yeah.
It's a abrupt retirement, but here you go.
It's fair. I mean, these players give a lot. Their bodies, their minds, especially Andrew Luck, Calvin Johnson. These are good guys. It ain't like they're fucking villains, domestic abusers or big ego people. No, man, these are good people. I mean, pay them.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I liked about Calvin Johnson as well, I felt like he was, in my opinion, he was one of the first players that spoke up against like taking painkillers and whatnot. He goes, man, I remember waking up every single day, just like in pain, having to go to the trainers, and he says, oh, here's a handful of pills, whatever you want. He's like, man, I didn't like how they did that to us. I'd much rather, just smoke a joint and feel good. It's a plant. It's whatever. I mean, we can go on about Ricky Williams being the first guy to want to smoke weed, but he was the first guy just pretty much just said like, no, man, I hate taking painkillers. And like, you hear about these guys taking, I think it's Toradol, right?
Yeah.
And I forget which one that Aaron Rodgers had it shot in his foot. It starts with an L. I can't blanket on it right now, but they just shoot these guys up and say, go out there and play. It always reminds me of the scene from Any Given Sunday. It's like, come on, give me one more shot. I'm ready to go. Like, he was the first one to say like, no, I don't want to do this shit anymore. I'm done. My body can't handle it.
He had a lot of injuries, because Calvin Johnson, the only way he was going to stop him was by aiming at his knees. And he took a lot of shots in the knees. His knees, by the time he retired, he didn't retire. See, a lot of people get on the Lions like we forced them out. We forced Calvin Johnson to retirement because we were so bad. That's not true. Calvin would have kept playing. Calvin was physically done.
Yeah.
He didn't want to take it no more. And like you mentioned, he was over the whole painkiller. At some points, he had to take painkillers because his pain was so bad. When you bust your knee out, or if you tear your meniscus or whatever you do, he had a bunch of hamstring stuff. Knee cartilage torn, it hurts, and so he's not allowed to smoke weed because it's against the NFL drug rules, so they just throw you these pills. They're getting these players hooked, pretty much zombies out on the field. And Calvin was done with that aspect of football, and that's what pushed him to retirement. It wasn't the Lions, how bad they were. It was
his body,
the effect of the game on his body and his mind too. He spoke a lot about mental health as well, like and even in his Hall of Fame speech, he mentioned all these things we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, of being how big he was and how fast he was, like you said, he had a lot of hamstring injuries. I know he had a lot of calf tightness, and I don't know if he dealt with plantar fasciitis or turf toe. They could have played
something like that. He had bad feet.
He had a lot of problems with his feet, from what I recall. It could have been the borrowed cleats. I don't know.
Yeah, and 9 reported concussions. So, that all that stuff starts adding up.
Yeah.
All it is.
Sure.
Last question I have for this section is: are there any underrated players that you feel like deserve a little bit more credit that played for the Lions?
Underrated players that deserve more credit. I mean, I guess I think a little bit about Golden Tate, Nate Burleson, those
Golden
receivers that I
Tate was
mentioned.
great. Yeah.
I
Right
hate
now, I
Tate.
mean, Frank Ragnow, Taylor Decker, and Panay
Hell yeah.
Sewell are all. Our offensive line is actually one of our strengths of our team.
Yeah.
Frank Ragnow is one of the best centers in the league, if not the best. Back in the day, we never really had a running game other than like Reggie Bush one year and maybe Javi Best. I don't know if you remember him. He was a Olympic sprinter.
Yeah, he's from
He
Cali.
only lasted a few years. Yeah. He went to Cal. Yeah. He only lasted a few years because of injuries, but he was unstoppable.
Yeah, he is electric.
He just couldn't stay healthy. But
yeah, shout out to Javid, man. I like Javid, man.
he was great. I wish we had more of him, but he was great.
Yeah, he had so many concussions, man, and really bad ones. Against Oregon State, he went stiff. Against Maryland, he got stuck so bad he started throwing up the green Gatorade. I remember that.
Oh.
And then I remember watching him in college. And he's from out here in the Bay. He's from he went to Salesian High School, I think, in Richmond. But
we still watch highlights of Javi Best all the time.
Of course.
So good.
He's good. He's a good dude.
One guy I gotta mention, just because I was looking at Lions history stuff that before our time, definitely, but Dick LeBeau, 62 interceptions in 13 years.
He was amazing.
He was amazing. Yeah. I mean, we know him as I know him as a defensive coach. But 62 interceptions was just really impressive to me.
Yeah, he was good, and he was a white corner.
Yeah, don't see that anymore.
He was locked down.
Yeah,
white corners are like snow leopards. Okay, so you gotta acknowledge it.
Yeah, Seahorn is the only one I can think of. Jason Seahorn.
Yeah,
that's the one everybody think of. Yeah. There's only been a few, and Dick LeBeau back in the 70s was a lockdown white corner.
Yeah. One other guy that I felt was, I don't know, I felt like he was like a big energy guy, and he was well known for being an asshole, because back in the day, that's what a lot of Nebraska Cornhuskers were. And Kyle Vandenbosch, I was just talking to Rand. As soon as I walked in, he goes, man, I was doing homework on the Lions. I was like, man, I was watching a lot of Kyle Vandenbosch, dude. He just seemed like an asshole player, man. He'd show up with the red contacts and just hearing stories, man. And like, man,
Kyle Vandenbosch, he was on those good defensive teams I mentioned earlier when they had the number 2 defense in the league. He was on that. He was like a wrestler. He had this persona like that he brought to the field. And it was a few of those. Like we had Sue, we had Vandenbosch, on defense specifically. We had Nick Fairley, we had Ziggy Ansah, who was at one point a freak. He played football for like 1 year at BYU, and then we drafted him in the top 5. And it took him a few years, but he got good.
Combine superstar.
Yeah, he's from Ghana, wasn't he? Like, wasn't he from?
I believe so. Somewhere in Western Africa, yeah. And DeAndre Levy and Stephen Tulloch at the linebackers, Darius Slay, Rasheem Mathis corners, Glover Quinn at safety. I love that defense, to be honest. All those guys, and I really miss it because our defense ain't been that good for a while.
Let's move on a little bit. This one might be a hard one for you, but do you have a favorite coach in Lions history?
Yeah, that is a hard one, man. Because
Steve Mariucci.
I'm kind of, that was around the time I first started realizing what was going on. Like, okay, he's the Lions coach. Okay, that's the quarterback, and Joey Harrington, those are my
Joey Harrington. Wow.
Joey Harrington is like my first memories of Lions fandom. Like I was like 10 or 11, drafting him 3rd overall from Oregon. And I mean,
wasn't he the cover of NCAA in 1 year, right?
He was, as an Oregon Duck. Yeah, he finished like 2nd or 3rd in Heisman voting. But he didn't work out in the NFL. I don't know. He didn't. He was back up.
Those jerseys those like sheet metal jerseys or whatever.
Yeah. And he had like big shoulder pads.
Yeah, big shoulder pads.
And he got $0 for it.
My favorite Lions coach, though, probably
that we know of.
All right, it's not Matt Patricia. He's way down on the
Yeah, I can see
He's
that.
gotta be. Yeah.
Jim Caldwell was okay. I just
Yeah.
thought he was bland.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was just always had the same facial expression all the time, even
Yeah.
in
He
chaos.
did. Yeah, that's true. I didn't notice that.
And it kind of annoyed me when it to a point. Even though I did like Jim Caldwell as a coach, I feel like the players really respected him and played for him.
Is it
Jim
Dan Campbell?
Schwartz, it might be Dan Campbell. I think I'm coming to a point where maybe Dan Campbell, even if he goes 0-16-1 and gets fired, which I doubt. They gave him a 6-year contract. I'm pretty sure they're not going to fire him. It's not fair that he got left with the worst roster in modern NFL history from Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. He shouldn't be fired. But as his personality and the way he operates, I think he has good potential. I don't think he knows what he's doing at this point. Like he's learning on the job. And this is something, if you've been paying attention to Lions games, you probably haven't, unless you're a Lions fan. But at the end of these games, he's been doing some questionable stuff, calling timeouts, of clock management issues that you don't want to see too much of.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's smart. I think he's a smart guy. And a lot of people, they make fun of him. He kind of got the cowboy,
You got that deep voice, man.
Home country, Texas, cowboy, tough as nails. He drinks like I don't know how many damn milligrams of caffeine every day.
Yeah.
He's beefed up, jacked up.
He's an educated meathead.
He is. That's a great description of him. But players like him though.
Mm-hmm.
Like they play Lions, literally their roster is terrible. And the players he has a lot of undrafted rookies, a lot of players injured. We have horrible injuries going on right now. They all played hard for him. We have the second most losses by 3 points or less in the NFL this season.
Yeah.
I mean, we could easily have 4 or 5 wins if a few things go the opposite way. Specifically, NFL record Justin Tucker kick in week 4.
Oh, yeah.
Which absolutely, that was one of the worst moments in my life as a Lions fan, I promise to God, because I believed he was going to miss it.
Yeah.
I believed it. I just knew he was going to miss it. I'm like, he's not making this. And when it popped, when it hit the crossbar, I was affirmed in my soul that he missed.
Mm-hmm.
But it
bounced in.
Yeah.
It was
gonna be a double
horrible
joint.
day.
Yeah, one thing about Motor City Dan is that you mentioned he made some questionable calls. One thing that I saw as soon as he was making his staff, he got a lot of like player coaches, like guys that used to play like recently, like Deuce Staley, Mark Burnell, Antoine Randall, and I think I'm missing a couple.
Almost his entire staff. Definitely.
Yeah, they're new as well into their roles. I know Deuce Staley he's been in there for quite a bit, but Mark Burnell, I'm pretty sure he was coaching like
Anthony Lynn.
Anthony Lynn is
Anthony
our
Lynn
coordinator.
Yeah, Anthony Lynn. That's right.
Aaron Glenn is
Aaron
our
Glenn
coordinator.
It's so crazy to see Aaron because I remember him
He's
playing.
A player.
He looks the same. He still has just the frosted white.
Exactly.
He has the white tips, and I'm like, dude, I remember you playing, dude. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he was the DB coach for the Saints, where Dan Campbell actually came from.
Oh, yeah.
Dan Campbell was the tight ends coach and the assistant head coach, and he brought Aaron Glenn from DB coach to be the defensive coordinator of the Lions. And the DB coach of the Lions at this point is also a former player, but his name escapes me. But almost Dan Campbell's entire coaching staff, Aubrey Pleasant, DB coach for the Lions, former DB, are former players of like the last 10 seasons. They retired. These aren't old retired dudes.
Yeah.
These are dudes we remember playing with on Madden 07, Madden 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like his like when he was questioned about that, he said he made a joke. It's like, oh, well, during this COVID year, if we needed guys to play, we can just get one of our coaches to do it like the Bucs did with AQ Shipley. It's just,
it's a good point. I mean, I saw Mark Brunell throw like a 50-yard spiral out of his left arm in training camp this past. If we need an emergency QB and
Sign him up.
Yeah, get the gray bush. Fuck.
You mentioned earlier about his play calling decisions and things like that, but what I did like is, I think it was probably a month ago, but after a loss, he went up to the mic. They asked him about his play calling decisions, and he actually said, you know what? Our biggest problem is we need better communication. I need to communicate with the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. And it's like, he's a guy that's owning it. He's not running from it. He's not making up excuses for it. He's like, yeah, that was a bad decision, but I'm working on it. We're going to communicate better. And that's the type of attitude you got to have in a profession where you have to get better every day. You get graded on everything you do, every play, every movement within a play. It's that he has the right attitude and he's not running from it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that everybody likes about him is he's so open and honest.
Mm-hmm.
And,
is he calling plays now, or
he is calling plays, and it's very controversial because Anthony Lynn is a seasoned play caller in the NFL, and I don't think that it's so much as Anthony Lynn wasn't doing a good job of calling plays. It's just that Dan Campbell thinks he can do better with what the Lions have on the field, which is not much other than, DeAndre Swift is injured now, so we are literally bare bones on offensive skill talent. So Dan Campbell is doing anything he can. He wants a win.
Yep.
Like, he needs a win. Dan Campbell needs one win. Just one. That's all Dan Campbell needs this season to affirm and go forward with all the draft capital and cap space that's coming off the books. Going forward, they can build a team. He just has to get through this rough rookie head coach season, learn some lessons, and stay honest, and preferably win one game.
Yep.
One game will still give us the first overall pick in the draft.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that might be something he needs to change in, especially for a first-time head coach, calling plays as well as managing the clock, managing offense. That might be something he needs to give up and maybe, gain a little bit more trust in Anthony Lynn moving forward. Being a first-year head coach, that's a lot to take on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. Let's move on a little bit. I have a couple notes here, but do you have a favorite or best memory being a Lions fan? You mentioned something before.
Probably, like I mentioned with my dad at that Chargers game when they clinched the playoffs, because it was such a surreal kind of in the moment. I was there at Ford Field, so I would say it hasn't been many great ones. It's a lot of bad ones.
Yeah. I mean, no real, no Super Bowl appearances, playoff wins, some playoff appearances in there. One that I got to bring up just because I remember it was Matt Stafford's fake spike versus the Cowboys. They were at the goal line. I forget what year it was, but Matt Stafford called spike. He was spiking. Everyone got to the line. He QB snuck right over the top, scored a touchdown. They won the game. And later on, Stafford said he was the only one that knew that play. Everyone else thought it was actually going to be a spike.
That was an amazing Stafford moment. Stafford was always at his best a lot of times at the end of those clutch moments.
Yeah.
And, we used to come back. We used to get in big holes because our defense or because our offense started out. And then all of a sudden, Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson go off in the fourth quarter for an epic comeback, and that was one of the times Stafford did that.
Yep. Yeah. I do my own kind of stats and things like that just for fantasy football. And one thing I always notice, this is consistent since I could remember Matt Stafford coming in. I always call him the red zone king. He had the best stats in the red zone. He rarely made a mistake. He had the most touchdowns in the red zone. So whenever I do stats about who would, score the most fantasy football points within the red zone, Matt Stafford was always number one, which, that's an important stat to have.
Most definitely. Yeah. Stafford, right now, I'm hoping that the Rams just keep losing on this little losing streak they're on because we got their first round pick for the next 2 years. So That needs to get lower. Earlier in the season, it was standing at like 31st, and now it's at like 22nd. So we're making some progress.
I was going to ask you if you're rooting for him or rooting against him, and I think you answered it there.
Yeah, I'm not really rooting against Stafford. I'm just rooting against the Rams.
And you're rooting for the Lions draft pick. I get it.
For the Lions draft position, exactly. That's all I'm invested in when it comes to the Rams. Stafford can throw for 5,000 yards, and I'll be happy for him.
Yep. I got one more memory. G, you got anything?
Now, if we're talking about Stafford, man, I think the best one is when he got hurt, he got called out.
Yep.
Dante Culpepper went in acting like he was going to save the day. And then
he thought,
oh, they called timeout, put me back in. He's fuck it, put me back in. I don't care, dude. And he's that tough, Texas boy, and he just came out there and did his thing.
I read the article on it today. I typed it in because I remember it from Mic'd Up. They have the famous Mic'd Up.
Was it against the Browns?
It was against the Browns 2009, and it's titled on YouTube, Matt Stafford Rises from the Dead. They were down 6 points. CJ Mosley, as we all remember, was a stud, landed on Stafford's shoulder. He gets hurt. He goes to the sidelines. The doctors have to carry him off. And somehow, which would never happen today, he gets back onto the field and throws the touchdown to Pettigrew.
His shoulder was completely separated, and he was that ended his season. He didn't play another snap after that.
Yep.
So that whole entire sequence is legendary of Stafford.
Yep. And the two things that I noticed in there were, we didn't mention them before, but it was two Dallas Cowboys coaches that came over. Scott Linehan, offensive coordinator, and Rod Marinelli was the head coach. Both of those guys were in that same clip.
0-7, the 0-16.
0-16 season. Yep.
And he got fired. And then Scott Linehan was the offensive coordinator. He was decent. He was decent. When he went to Cowboys, he was decent too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think, 0-16, Marinelli, he was the head coach. He deserves to, get his criticism for that. But players love that man. Oh, he's in the Raiders now. Defensive linemen love him. They respect him as a man, as a coach. And I think every player he's ever coached will stick up for him.
Most definitely. He was just in a bad situation with a bad roster in Detroit. And, it's kind of like now with Dan Campbell, except the Lions ownership and Lions fans are more aware how bad we are and what Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes inherited. There's no way we could have expected a winning season. So, back then, though, in those Rod Marinelli days, we were totally shocked they were 0-16.
Yeah.
Even though Rod Marinelli had a horrible roster himself.
Yep.
Dan Orlovsky and Dante Culpepper, a 35-year-old beer belly Dante Culpepper.
Yep.
Throwing the football, and it was just those are bad days. Yeah.
To a career backup, Orlovsky. Yes.
Oh yeah, running out the back of the end zone.
Exactly.
Oh,
Dan Campbell was on that 0-16 team.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
You had a plethora of random quarterbacks. He had John Kitna.
Yep. He was our starting tight end for 3 seasons, I think from 01 to 03 or 04. And he had a couple good, decent. He was one of the better blocking tight ends in the league, and he got loose on play action a couple of times. Dan Campbell was a really good player, and he was a leader. Everybody loved him, and it kind of transcended into his coaching career.
Yep. That's all I got there. Let's move on a little bit.
Yeah.
We want to know your worst memory being a Lions fan. I know you don't have any Super Bowl losses, but there are some playoff losses in there. We mentioned one earlier. There's some player departures, maybe an injury or two that kind of sticks out to you.
There's a few worst moments.
Yeah.
That comes to mind. I think about the Hail Mary, the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
For Rodgers, right?
That was devastating.
Yeah. Yep.
I even think about the Justin Tucker field goal that just happened. I'm telling you guys, it was absolutely devastating. because those two things we didn't believe they were about to happen. That's the thing. So they shocked Lions fans into sadness. And I would also say the picked up flag in Dallas was the closest to outrage that Lions fans have been over the prospect of the Lions going on a playoff run or winning a playoff game. That's the closest that we feel like one of our teams have been in the last 30 years to winning a playoff game. And, even though I honestly, as far as the picked up flag in Dallas goes, I was mad about that play, but I don't blame the loss of that loss on
that single play,
on that scenario. I mean, it could have, it was pretty egregious to me, but our offense went stale for a whole quarter after that, and we started shanking punts.
Yep.
So, I mean, how much can you blame a picked up flag if you're doing dumb Lion stuff? But that team was the closest we thought we had. So I would say it's those moments, those shocking moments and like those angry at the refs moments that we have a lot of too.
Yeah, that was exactly what I had written down. 2014 versus the Cowboys, the no PI. It was actually called a PI and the flag was picked up. That's why you were so pissed. And as a Cowboys, as a Cowboys fan, I think it should have been a PI, especially, wasn't turning around, looking at the ball, had his hands up, all that stuff.
It was pretty tight coverage, debatable even if he was touching, like pushing him.
Yeah,
but he didn't turn around, so that's why he threw the flag.
And I agree with you. Same scenario happened just this past weekend, Cowboys versus Raiders. Anthony Brown didn't turn around, but I think the same thing. You can't blame it on that one play. There were so many opportunities that the team had to win the game. And they just didn't do it, but definitely. That happens. The other thing, you guys had 8 straight wild card losses. That's pretty tough. I mean,
and I'm in vivid memory of at least 4 of them.
Yeah, they all start to blur.
All of them. The only one that was close was the Cowboys.
Yeah,
in 2014. The rest were practically blowouts. Like we shouldn't have even been there.
Yep. That's a tough one though. I always feel like just get my foot into the playoffs and then the team will do what the team does. So
they beat the Cowboys in 91 and it's been nothing since.
Yeah, that was Emmett and Aikman and those guys. Aikman wasn't even starting for it was his rookie season, I believe. Oh, was it?
He was still backing up whoever that kid name was.
Yeah.
But we wrecked the Cowboys in the playoffs with Barry Sanders. And then we got wrecked by the Redskins in the NFC Championship the next week. And we haven't won a playoff game since.
Yeah. That's the way it goes. What about departures like Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson? Do you even remember when Barry Sanders left? Did one hurt more than the other?
I barely remember Barry Sanders leaving.
Me too.
Calvin, I mean,
that's a heartbreaker.
We understood why he was leaving. It sucks that we was losing him, but we kind of accepted it, per se, and then as soon after we got Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, we had a decent receiving core. It didn't hurt us too bad in that regard because he was injured a lot his last few years. We barely had him on the field, so we understood. Calvin, Stafford getting traded was pretty wild and surreal because Stafford was the reason we had hope every year for 12 years. We got a quarterback. If you got a quarterback, you got a shot. And so we learned in this year that we're not in that category anymore because Jared Goff is hot garbage.
I usually look back.
I've been knowing that.
I usually look back at the team's draft history and I asked were you disappointed about this bust? But you guys usually hit in the first round, just going down. Penei Sewell this year, Okudah, Hawkinson, Ragnow, Jared Davis is in there 2017, but then Taylor Decker, Laken Tomlinson, who was actually the 28th overall pick. So that wasn't like it was a top 10 pick or something. Eric Ebron, Ansah, Riley Reef, Nick Fairley, and Dominican Sue, Matt Stafford. It's like, for the past 10 years, you guys have kind of been hitting on those guys.
Yeah, it's just the mid-round picks that we have historically been bad on. Matter of fact, in the last like 15 years, I forgot the stat, but the Lions ranked last in their picks, third round through seventh or undrafted, that have become starters for more than 5 games in a season.
Wow.
We have been by far the lowest. We draft these high draft picks. Of course, they turn to stars.
Yeah.
That's why we draft them in the top 10 and top 5. Most of them are going to become stars. And you lose so much that you get a lot of them. But once you get to the 3rd round, the 4th round, the 5th round, you're drafting bums and you're not building your team. It's like the anti-Patriots or the anti-Packers.
Yep.
Those are the type of teams that are good at building through the draft.
Yeah.
Which, and I guess you could say the Chiefs and a couple other teams are recent, but the Lions, that's how they're going to do. Free agents aren't going to want to come to Detroit until we're a winner. So the only way you can build a winner is by drafting it. So
I say that about the Buccaneers, who just won last year, the Super Bowl. They've had so many rookie or 1 or 2 year guys that are just contributing and playing really well. Tristan Wirfs, of course, came in, started every game. Antonio Winfield. Then they have Devin White, Bunting, Jamel Dean. Like, all these guys played a pivotal part. Vita Vea in 2018. Carlton Davis, he came in. Alex Kappa. It's like these guys have came in, and these are 2nd and 3rd round dudes. It's like they've came in and played a pivotal part in the team's success, and that's what it takes. You can't just take that first guy and be like, that's it. You got to hit on these guys that are even 5th, 6th rounders and hope for the best.
You got to build. That's the only way, man.
Yeah,
maybe that's what he's doing, because I see like a lot of these players that you guys just recently drafted, and they're all getting playing time, in my opinion. And
we have the like per snap, like
most snaps.
Our age per snap is the youngest by like a whole year in the NFL, because we have so many rookies that we drafted a few, and even undrafted. We got like 4 or 5 undrafted rookies getting like starter minutes, and the young guys that we inherited, we cut a lot of dead weight. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they cut off a lot of dead weight from the last regime. This past offseason, they got rid of like 65% of the roster and took what they thought was redeemable going forward. And there's, like, you see the DeAndre Swifts and the Hawkinsons and a few others, Romeo Okwara, Trey Flowers. And I expect this regime to continue to shed some of that Patricia dead weight this offseason, while adding more of their of what they want to the team, especially with the amount of draft picks we got, and the amount of dead cap we're about to get rid of, which is like 65 million or something. We're going to be able to, not this next offseason, but the following offseason, we're going to be able to add players via free agency to what we've built in the draft.
Yeah. Say if whatever, it's 63 million, whatever gets freed up, would you give that 3 million to Calvin Johnson and just say, hey?
Of course I would.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? I mean,
let's do it. Let's just move forward with this.
They probably make 3 million from one of the hot dog stands in Fort Worth Field.
I just think of how many Calvin Johnson jerseys got sold. Yeah. He made them $3 million easily. Yeah. Well, let's move on. We're talking a little bit about the drafts. We want to know about your future expectations for your Lions. We know you got a brand new coach. You got a new quarterback that's in there. Do you want to stick with him? Are you looking forward to the draft? Have you been seeing anyone in college that it looks like you guys are going to have that number 1 pick with?
Fuck it. Go blue and go Aiden, man.
Bro, you already know. That's my Mac. That's what I'm mocking right now.
Yep.
Aiden Hutchinson is...
He's a dog.
He's gonna be like JJ Watt. I'm telling you, he's gonna be all pro.
He's such a blue chip player.
He is. He's durable. He's tough. He's a freak athlete. He's smart. He's big. He's fast. I mean, and Kayvon Thibodeau, taking nothing away from him, because he has a ton of ability and could definitely become a premier pass rusher in his own right. But Aiden Hutchinson grew up in Detroit area and went to the University of Michigan. He delivered them a win over Ohio State his senior year on the way to being in talks of Heisman. I'm sure he's going to kill the combine.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be very happy if the Lions drafted him number 1 overall.
I think he's more of a polished pass rusher, in my opinion, when it comes to him and Calvin Pivot. I mean, I think he has Thibodeau has a little bit more speed, but man, when it comes to grit and heart, I think it's Hutchinson, man. I mean, he has so many more pass rush moves as well. He can bull rush, he can swim, he can rip. His rip is pretty nasty, and
we saw him wreck the tackles from Ohio State, who are not bums. The left tackle he wrecked for 15 pressure is getting mocked in the late first round, early second round.
Yeah.
I forgot the kid's name. He did it on the biggest stage against the best competition,
and with an arm around his neck too. Like he was getting held.
Exactly. He got so many holding calls that wasn't called because he was getting held every play. He had 3 sacks, 15 pressures. Come on, man. Have you ever heard of anything like that against Ohio State?
Yeah, especially CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's a solid quarterback in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In the early college season, I even said, I was like, man, he looks kind of like he doesn't look good against Oregon, and he's all of a sudden he just snapped into it. He's a Cali kid, so I always kind of want to root for him, and he did good. He's doing solid. So, but yeah, man, that Aiden Hutchinson, man, he's a dog. And that other defensive end as well. I don't know if he's coming out this year. I hope he does. And
that's why I didn't mention a quarterback because the Lions will need a quarterback. Now, I'm not for drafting 1 first overall this year. I'm just not. And the closer draft come, that it's going to get more hype for quarterbacks. These quarterbacks are going to start getting, they say he could be the next Brady. Oh, they said he could be the next Vic. And they just going to climb up the ESPN draft boards, and then you're going to be pressured. I don't want that, right? I want it. If the Lions draft a quarterback high, I want it to be because they know that he the guy.
Yeah.
And I want to see that his rookie season. Yep. I don't want you to draft, reach on no guy. And he takes 3 or 4 years to
draft will be a reach.
Who?
I think a lot of the quarterbacks in this draft are going to be reaches.
Of course.
Almost
Pickett. I mean, you shouldn't be the first pick,
especially at first overall. Imagine us drafting Matt Corral at first overall. Like you're just like
not the guy.
You're scared because you're passing on generational Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau for some quarterbacks that you just don't really know if they're going to be good.
I mean, you got Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, who's probably going to stay. He might follow Luke Fickell.
The Lions got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. They can make a pick at quarterback later on if they want to.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But that high pick, that first overall, they cannot be pressured or hyped into a quarterback that is not going to deliver.
Yep.
Or you guys can lure a quarterback that's coming out of your guys' division rivalry. I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Talking about Aaron Rodgers?
I don't think that's happening.
I don't think
that might be the ultimate fuck you to.
Yeah. No, that ain't happening. That's like some Brett Favre shit when he went to the Vikings.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You.
I don't think he will.
Yeah, I don't think he will either. No offense either, but if you guys do take a pass rusher number 1 overall, you guys do have draft capital, and I have a feeling you'll be picking top 15 the following year. I don't think that's going to put you into Super Bowl contenders right away. Mm-hmm. So get some guys around him.
Yeah,
you'll
build.
Build. Start
the
building
whole
that
draft
team.
is important. This upcoming season, I mean, we got 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, amazing.
We could trade down, trade up.
Yep.
We can if we really wanted to. There's been talk like, what if the Lions wouldn't just gave a package for Deshaun Watson or I don't know who's on the trade market that's good, but a big name quarterback, just use their, just go get a superstar.
Yeah.
But I doubt they're going to do that because it's so much of a risk.
Yeah. The Deshaun Watson's a huge risk right now. He also has the no trade clause.
He might be on the trade market in 2020. He's a handsome guy.
Jimmy Goff.
Jared Goff he's on his way to being a backup. Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's backup at best.
For sure.
He's just he doesn't have the mind. Okay.
Yep.
He might have some tools. That's the reason he was drafted first, because and it worked for him in college. But in the NFL, he's not the guy. He is not the guy. You want the guy.
I heard one of his former teammates did an interview. I forget who it was, but they're like, yeah, he's kind of like the typical California kid. I'd imagine. I was like, ooh, what's that? They're like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, yeah, that's what they said. Like, he's soft.
Yeah.
And they're like, and they started naming all these California players that are in the NFL. He goes, well, like the stereotypical like guys is who Jared Goff is. Like, oh,
yeah. He is though. He is though. He's almost like an actor in Hollywood or something, or like guy you find on Malibu. Just he kind of got that. I can see where people say that.
Yeah, I could see it too.
I mean, we got a lot of reps in Northern California. I mean, he's from Northern California. We got a lot of reps in Northern California in the league that are fucking dogs. Aaron Rodgers.
Most definitely. Yeah. Goff is actually, his dad was a baseball player, I believe. Played in the major in MLB for the Giants or the A's, and that's where his roots came from. But he was spoon fed. You could tell he was. You could just tell, his personality. Yeah. He don't got that edge to him. Like even Aaron Rodgers, you could tell he a California boy too, but kind of a different kind than Jared Goff.
A JUCO product.
Yeah, that's what it is. Junior college shit. He never had anything handed to him like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, speaking of the draft, this past draft, I hate to backtrack real quick, but besides Penei Sewell, is there somebody that you can expect big things or to step up out of this last 2001 draft, from Penei Sewell all the way to Jefferson, who I liked being out here in California, seeing a lot of Pac-12. I saw a lot of Jefferson out of Oregon State.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of them in this past draft class, pretty much the entire draft class. If we break it down, Penei Sewell is expected to be an anchor on the offensive line for the next decade. Then in the second round, we drafted Levi Orzorowski on defensive line out of Washington. He's tenacious. He has a tenacity about him. He's dealt with some injuries in his rookie year, so he's slowly getting back to it. But he had a sack last week, his first sack, and you kind of could see some potential there. Also, Alan Mcneil, big nose tackle we drafted. He's been our starting nose tackle all season.
He rose in the draft last year. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can just see him growing every game, and these young players. We got a kid from Purdue named Derek Barnes at linebacker. He has that instinct that a lot of players don't have that you look for in a linebacker. And he's very athletic. He's been getting limited snaps along with a couple of the other young guys, but he's standing out. And then we got the kid from Syracuse. We call him Iffy. Because he has a very hard name to pronounce.
Melifonwu.
Melifonwu. Yeah, he's a long, like 6'3", 190-pound corner. Great up front on the press coverage. He showed a lot of potential early in the season, and then he got hurt. And then Justin Jefferson, like you mentioned, out of Oregon State, he has elite vision. On like his second NFL carry, he took it like 40 yards to the house. Injured, because the Lions just have the second worst injury luck in the league, along with the worst roster and the youngest roster. So, but overall, our draft class shows a lot of promise, and I can't wait to see what we add to it and see those guys grow from this year to next year, because that's what Dan Campbell has been telling us this season has been about this whole time, is about growth as a coacher, as the coach that he's building. And those rookie players, Penei Sewell, are the foundation.
Yep.
Yeah, I hate USC, and one guy you did forget is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh, how did I forget?
I mean, not only notice it, you guys have a lot of Pac-12 players in this draft. Amon-Ra, I hate USC, but man, it was nice watching him. His tape.
Oh yeah, he's like Equanimus St. Brown's brother, the Packer wide receiver.
He has another younger brother at Stanford.
They're coming from a family of football players. We call him the Sun God. The last couple games for Detroit, this guy's been getting the majority of snaps at wide receiver. in the slot and on the outside. He's making some catches, getting some targets. He's growing as well. You can see he has some route running ability and quickness to his cuts that could be useful as he learns to grow. It also depends on if we can get a quarterback to throw him the ball, because Amon-Ra St. Brown has been open so many times this season for big gains and touchdowns. There's a whole highlight reel on YouTube of Amon-Ra St. Brown open, just like they did Odell Beckham and all the other guys.
Yeah.
They got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Somebody made one, a fan made one of him being open like 20 times.
Yeah.
And Jared Goff just totally blind.
Wow.
So when he gets a quarterback, in the next year or two, hopefully you'll see a lot of big things out of him.
Yeah.
I did a lot of film watching the defensive linemen this year, just because I feel like Dallas really needed them. And of my top 4, number 2, Levi, number 4, Mcneil. I liked both of those guys. And a lot of people had Togiai from Ohio State. They had, I saw a lot of Marvin Wilson, a lot of Milton Williams. He shot way up. And I thought both of those guys were way better. The 2 USC guys, I felt like they were a lot better. So I think you're in good hands with that defensive line starting right there. And then, of course, will holding down the tackle position.
Yeah,
definitely. There's a lot of hope in the trenches in Detroit. The offensive line can be one of the best in the league once Ragnow's back and Panay has another year under his belt, and Taylor Decker. It can be pretty lethal going forward. So
good pieces, and you could tell the way they're building the team. It's like keep building it till you have the opportunity to throw a quarterback in there and he could succeed and not get his fucking ass handed.
The quarterback is the key. He's the key to unlocking everything else.
Yeah. With Jeff Okudah, man, I didn't think that he was number 1 in that draft. I thought it was CJ Henderson coming out. I mean, I'm just saying, you guys can use him as some trade bait.
I mean, his career has not started off great. I should have known he came from that Ohio State school that, they have produced some great corners. I think that's what hyped him to the top of the draft boards was, the media and
it hyped up Damon Arnett to a number 1 or round
exactly.
1 draft pick, so.
Ohio State corners or DBs were just very much hyped, and Jeff Okudah was up there. And I'm not going to call him a bust. He does have some ability. He's dealt with injuries. He tore his Achilles. It's going to be hard to come back from, especially as a corner.
I didn't know that. The Achilles is
we'll see.
That's a bad one. Yeah. I think I don't know about the injury stuff, but I think that's a guy you got to stick with. I mean, who else are you going to put back there? But Jeff Okudah, he's a promising guy.
Well, what sucks is that we passed on Justin Herbert. We passed on some great players.
Trayvon Diggs.
Tristan Wirfs, Trayvon Diggs. We passed on some good players for Jeff Okudah. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. G, anything else?
No, I mean, as far as for the rest of the season, man, where do you see your first win coming from? Which team? Which week?
Let me look up the schedule.
Okay, so I pretty much got the last 6 remaining games in my head.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All
right.
Yeah, I got it up.
Professional Lions fan.
Yep. I got it. I got them all here. Let's hear it.
Out of their remaining games, there's
I see. Oh, I see 2.
There's 5 of them that we can have a shot in.
Yep.
Quote unquote. Take that with a grain of salt. We have a shot in 5 of them. Okay. And the only reason it's 5 is because the game we don't have a shot in theoretically is Arizona. They should handle us. Their defense has been very opportunistic. Their pass rush is lethal. They should handle us pretty decent. Then we have Green Bay in week 18.
Yep. Are they going to be sitting?
Everything goes right for Green Bay.
Yeah.
They're sitting their starters.
Yeah. That won't be satisfying, though. That won't be a satisfying win.
Yep. I think that's our best shot if they sit their starters. If the starters play, we're going to lose. And the rest of those games around it, Atlanta, Seattle, Denver, we have a shot in those games against those teams because those teams are not perfect. They are very flawed, all of them. And the Lions defense has held opponents under 20 points in like 5 of the last 6 games, 4 of the last 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
We've bended and not broke on defense. It's actually been pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that our offense is abysmal. Starting with Jared Goff, working his way. Our passing attack is like JV high school level. Like, it's horrible. All we can do is run. We lost DeAndre Swift. So our only prayer is that our defense holds the team down to low enough points for us to get a few field goals, maybe a touchdown. Jared Goff, miraculous touchdown, TJ Hockenson. That can happen in those games. So I'm hoping that one of them is a win. I really am. I don't want to go winless. I don't want Dan Campbell to carry a winless season into the offseason when we're supposed to be hopeful about all these things he's building. You have to carry a win with you.
Yeah, like you said, there's so many close games. I mean, you guys got a tie. Your last 2 have both been within 3 points. The one that I'm looking at is versus the Falcons. I mean, Falcons, their number 1 wide receivers out. They don't really have a running game either. Their defense is trash. That's the one that I'm looking at. And it might be a little bit of a Christmas present, December 26th, the day after. Yeah. But that's the one that I'm looking at that I think you guys have a really good chance of winning. After that, I think maybe even the Seahawks, because it's going to be the second to last game of the season. I don't think the Seahawks are going to be even in it. I think they're going to be done. Russell Wilson might be checking out at that time just because he wants out of there. And so those are the 2 I'm looking at. Vikings, Broncos, Cardinals, Packers. I mean, unless the Packers do sit, but I want you guys to get a win without a team sitting their players.
You want them to earn a win.
Yeah. I want that Falcons game, and I'll be watching just because it's going to be like I won't say Super Bowl. It'll be like a playoff win once they get their first that first win in the season.
Oh yeah, it'll just be a monkey off our back.
Of course.
Like, we knew the team was going to be bad. Like we said, and everybody knew, like, oh man, we have a lot of young players. It's not going to be pretty. Jared Goff sucks.
Yep.
So that's what's happening. It's just that nobody thought that we would not have a win yet. And so that's just something that we have to get rid of to move forward.
Yep.
I'm going to be rooting for you guys against Seattle and also against the Cardinals.
That would be hilarious if they beat the Cardinals.
I would love that so much because, I mean, there's talks about Cliff going to OU. And he didn't turn it down. He didn't pull like a Brian Kelly. He didn't shut it down immediately like Tomlin. He goes, "Oh, I'm not worried about that right now." It's like, well, okay, out there.
So you can't trust Cliff, man.
Well, last question I have for me is just about the coaching staff. How do you feel? We're a little bit past halfway through this season. Dan Campbell, of course, Anthony Lynn, Aaron Glenn, Deuce Staley, Dallas played against them a lot. He was at Philly. And I felt like he was really, really close to being the offensive coordinator, if not the head coach there. So, how do you feel about the coaching staff halfway through the season?
Well, there's a lot of things to like. Deuce Staley, our running game has been spectacular. It's been the best part of our offense. DeAndre Swift is having a career year. Jamal Williams has been effective. We're averaging over like 4.5 yards a carry as a team. Our run blocking has been great. So Deuce Staley has done an amazing job as assistant head coach, running backs coach. I really have no qualms with anybody else. Anthony Lynn, it's been a lot of talk because Dan Campbell took play calling duties away from him. Because like we mentioned earlier in the show, so it's been some talk that in the offseason, Dan Campbell might look for somebody else that can unlock some, a better, more explosive passing scheme. But who knows there? And then Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, he's done a pretty good job of what he's been given. I mean, and he's a rookie defensive coordinator as well. He's learning on the job just like his boy Campbell. Yep. So you see stuff that you question, but you just look for growth overall. And I think I've seen that from Aaron Glenn. And the coaching staff as a whole, I'll probably give a B. Anywhere from a B- to a B+. Other than, like I said, the questionable Anthony Lynn, he might be moving on after the season. But I see what Dan Campbell was doing, getting all those former players. He was giving game experience to his players that had none, in a mental theoretical way. And all these rookies and stuff, we'll see next season when they grow up, or the next 2 seasons when they grow up, what Dan Campbell meant to do when he hired all these former players as coaches on the staff.
Yeah, I'm looking at the coaching staff right now, and Aaron Glenn has the title of defensive coordinator, but one guy they have on their staff is Dom Capers, who's been around the league forever. His title is senior defensive assistant. So I don't know how much longer he'll be there, but it seems like
the sage.
He's helping Aaron Glenn get this underneath his feet and learning things, and kind of helping.
Hopefully that shows, going forward into next season. You come back and you just see a little more sharpness to the team overall.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it for me, G. Anything else?
No, that's it for me. Julius, go ahead and shout out whatever work you're working on, where we can find you and everything.
You guys find me on Twitter at the Fifth Top, TheFiftTop. I'm on there daily, pretty much. Cool guy, talk about a lot of different stuff. I'm also co-host of the Honolulu Blues. You might have saw our tweets a few times on Twitter when it pertains to the Lions. You can find me on there weekly, as well as the podcast Against the Standard. I got it all linked in my Twitter bio. So, shoot me a DM, whatever. Talk Lions, talk NFL, talk life. I really enjoy, and I appreciate you guys having me on the show. You guys were great, great host, and you asked me a ton of great questions. And, as fans, not from Lion, to understand maybe a Lions fan a little bit better, I think it's a pretty interesting thing as being a football fan in general. And likewise, when it comes to you guys and your team. So I really enjoyed being on the show.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you. We had your guest, you had your co-host, Nick Faber on. We had you, 2 different stories.
Oh, man. Yeah, Nick's awesome.
Yeah, man. It was 2 different stories, but honestly, 2 great things to hear, because you get the perspective as a Lions fan. I mean, it's a tough one, but
me and Nick meshed pretty well on the Honolulu Blues over there.
Give it a listen too. You guys work really well together.
Yeah, we have different outlooks on it. Nick is a little more give or take, and I'm just, I'm a little more like just a city boy born and raised in South Detroit. So
hell yeah. All right. Duran, go ahead and let us know where they can find us as well.
You see it behind me. Why We're Fans on Twitter, on YouTube, anywhere you could find your podcast, Spotify, Apple, anything like that. Download it. We got previous Lions fans. We got every other team. I think the only one team we haven't knocked out is Texans. Is that true?
Yeah, it might be the Texans. We
have every team on there except for the Texans. Multiple episodes of Niners, Cowboys, and most teams like that. But we're still looking for that one Texans fan. If you want to step up to the plate, we're not going to grill you about anything crazy. It's just talking about being a fan. Hit us up.
All right, man. We appreciate it so much. Again, everyone have a good night. Cheers.
Cheers.
Sure.